Hello everyone, welcome to today's RGU Union online question time. Thank you so much for tuning in today to RGU Union's Facebook page or YouTube channel to watch this election. This week, although we are in quite challenging circumstances, getting used to working from home, your team at the Union have been working hard to make sure that everything runs as smoothly as possible. And that means that regardless of where we are in the world, we are here for question time and you get the choice to pick your student presidents and vice presidents for the next academic year. So over the next little while, we have 18 candidates who are running for positions in this year's election, and there are 8 different roles being contested, both within the student union and the university, and voting is already open. They opened at midnight and you have until the end of the week to start casting your votes. But if you haven't chosen yet, don't worry, because this question time will give you the chance to hear from each of the candidates who are running and have the opportunity to ask questions. This is your student democracy. It's your opportunity to have your voice be heard. So if you have a question, please do get in touch. I'm Edward. I'm a former student president and I will be chairing today's question time, and we have the rest of the candidates on video call as well, so you'll get the chance to hear from them if you can. The candidates are going to be explaining who they are, what their manifesto is all about, and having the opportunity to answer any questions. We have some questions prepared in advance, so I'll be asking them. But if you have your own questions, then please do not worry. You can tweet hashtag RGU elections, or you can tag at RGU Union, and we'll be able to answer your questions when we can. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to give the opportunity for each candidate to give their introduction, and then I'll go into questions. So we are going to do the roles as student president candidates first. Okay, so we're going to start with the role of President of Communication and Democracy, and we are going to give each candidate 2 minutes to speak, and our colleague is going to keep an eye on the time. And then we will, once each candidate has done their 2 minutes, we will then go individually through for questions. We're going to go in order of last name alphabetically. So our first candidate, if you could please make sure for candidates, as soon as I call your name, if you can unmute your microphone and then say your name and give it a second before you start talking so that we can get your camera on the screen. So our first candidate to give 2 minutes is going to be Rahim Lawal. Are they online? They may not be online today. I'm just double checking. Okay, I can't see Rahim, so we may have to go to Ross Leven. Ross, say your name, and then you'll be able to go live for 2 minutes.
Hi everyone, my name's Ross Leven. I'm a final year international business management student at RGU. So I'm the current Vice President for Education at the Union, and I've also been involved in the Union since first year. So I've been involved in societies and I've launched a student group as well, and I'm currently on the committee for that. So last year I also undertook a year's work experience in corporate communication and public affairs. So I think that'll be really useful from the kind of the communication side of the role and making sure that the union gets the messages across to students and is able to relay their feedback as well. So kind of what I want to do next year, in addition to the day-to-day role of kind of supporting the societies and student groups, communicating with students and gathering feedback, and also supporting our international community. There's 6 key kind of points I want to focus on. So I want to look at the social space of the union and looking at getting a bar. And this is something that students want, whether that be on campus or in a city centre, but it's something that we do need to continue to look at as we go forward. Next, I also want to look at the library and making that 24 hours a day. We've had a great trial this year that some of the colleagues at the union have been working on as well. And obviously that's had to stop at the moment, but that's something that we need to continue for the library so students have a safe place to study. Also looking at a park and ride service for students. There's parking at RGU is always an issue, and for students coming from outside Aberdeen, it's especially so. So we need to look at all the options available. And then next, also increasing engagement across schools and increasing the support for online and distance learners. RGU is such a large community and we all learn in different ways, and we need to make sure that all these students have the support that they need and that the union is relaying the things that are important to them. And then finally, looking at the bus stop outside the Ishbel Gordon building. This was brought up at the AGM this year and is a big issue for students that use wheelchairs or other assistance devices such as canes. It's important that when it's busy there, they struggle to get through with the queues, so we need to look at alternatives to that or maybe some different options. So yeah, so please vote for me, first choice for President, Communication and Democracy.
Thank you very much. So that was Ross Leven, first candidate to speak today for the role of President of Communication and Democracy. Our next candidate to speak will be Nathan McNaughton. Nathan, please unmute your microphone and begin your 2 minutes introduction.
Hi there, my name's Nathan McNaughton. I'm a final year communication design student studying at Grade School of Art. I specialise in documentary photography, and for the past year I went to Samos, Greece to volunteer in the Greek refugee crisis and document the work of the charity Refugees for Refugees. I've also done projects in Colombia and Nepal where I was documenting poverty and rural Nepali lifestyle from poorer children who don't have as much as we do. Over the 3 years of doing that, I've developed a real passion for communicating hard issues to people and been able to go into any situation and communicate it for the best possible outcome for the people that are there. Also, while being in Scotland, I have worked for Young Scot and Scottish National Heritage to work on a 3-year project getting young people involved in biodiversity. We were a 15-group young panel, and we, at the end of that project, gave an entire booklet of recommendations to the Scottish Government, which got published. Also here in RGU, I've been an active member. I have took part as a student ambassador with the Department Delta, which run an Access To programme getting S5 and S6 children into the campus to get them involved in a 12-week course. From day one, I've seen kids that didn't really understand university to coming out of the course, wanting to come to uni and being inspired. Now I want to use the skills I've gained over these past couple of years and be able to communicate all the students' values in the university and what they want so that they can have the best student experience. So I really hope I've done enough for you to choose me as your first candidate for Student President for Communication and Democracy.
Thank you very much. So that was your second candidate to speak. That was Nathan McNaughton. And our next candidate to speak will be Ursula Ojiji. So please unmute your microphone and you have 2 minutes to do your introduction.
Thank you, Edward. My name is Ursula Ojiji, and I'm currently the Student President for Communication and Democracy. Having been in this position, I've been able to achieve a lot with the exec group. We've been able to achieve and provide students with the My RGU timetabling app. We've also worked closely with the international students across campus to show the diverse groups here in RGU, and then we've also hosted the One RGU Many Nations. I've done a lot of projects with the team as well as University of Aberdeen uni students and UNESCO, and we've been able to campaign throughout this year for affordable and free transport services for students here in Aberdeen. And I've also worked closely with the exec team this year to ensure that we got the university to start talking about having a social space here on campus, and of which we realize students really need. And so we're working on that. And this year, I'm putting myself forward to ensure that we have that project up and going. And so I want to continue to ensure that we keep up with the progress of the project so that we can get bring it to fruition. And also, I would like to also improve the AGM motion system. I know it has been an issue and it was raised up in the AGM motions this year. This is what I want to work on so that we can ensure for a fair, transparent service that the union offers as well. And considering the way things have been going with the climate change and everything, I want to work with the university management team to ensure that we look for other alternative ways to do certain and to ensure that all things are work well. So I just want your votes. If you want me to continue as your president, please vote for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ursula. So that was your next candidate for Student President of Communication and Democracy. Continue with that, we have another candidate. So the next person to speak, so please unmute your microphone, will be Lauren Taylor.
Hi there. My name is Lauren Taylor, and I'm a fourth-year journalism student. I'm also the current editor-in-chief of our student magazine, Radar. Up until now, I've been dedicated to reporting on elections and other union events, and so I have had to remain impartial. However, now is my chance to suggest change. My first aim would be to support all student media groups. During my time as editor-in-chief, I have had no contact with previous presidents, and I want to change that for future media groups. I want to work with these groups to increase engagement and involvement with the union. I would set up meetings to ensure these groups were kept informed about all union and university news, and this would then be shared with the student body. On the reverse, these groups are vital as they represent student voice, and I want to support them to continue acting as an important platform they are. In addition to this, I want to also improve the AGM system. If elected, I would ensure all students are aware of their voting rights and would aim to implement a system where presidents are transparent about the work they're doing and how they are progressing with the AGM motions they choose. Therefore, they would then be held accountable for these things. I also want to push for a system that allows people off campus to vote, because currently only a small proportion of students are attending AGMs physically, and they're voting on issues that affect everyone here on campus. Finally, I'm campaigning to prevent student hunger. I would like to see a food bank installed on campus so students can get the help they need on site and in a safe and familiar environment. These are just a few of the changes I want to make, and if you are like me and want to see change happen, then vote for Lauren Taylor as your new President of Communication and Democracy. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, Lauren. So that's Lauren, another candidate for President of Communication and Democracy. The next candidate does not appear to be available at the moment, but you'll be able to view their manifesto online, and that's Stanley Okonu, and you'll be able to read their details. Is he? Oh, fantastic. Thank you very much. So the next person to speak is Stanley.
Hello. Hi, good morning. My name is Okonu Stanley Chigozie. I'm a postgraduate student of construction project management. I'm from Nigeria. I'm actually not here this morning to actually give political promises, but one thing I'm very, very certain is that I will be precise to my objectives, which are to defend and stand by the voice of the students, fight for their rights and their welfare. All these are my main objectives. How can I achieve this? By transparency, excellence, and effective collaboration with the team. All these I've actually explained would be within and outside the university. But all these cannot come to the light of the day if actually you don't have an unbiased mind. When I mean an unbiased mind, I'm talking about being equity, being neutral, being straight and focused to your objectives. Case studies resulting to my former experiences as the SUG Senator, in-house committee chairman on welfare, and the councillor representing my local government in Nigeria. I got to learn one thing, and what is that? He who comes to equity must come with clean hands. And I'm here ready to serve you. Remain blessed. And I'm still my humble self, Okonu Stanley Chigozie, your servant leader. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was Chigozie Stanley Okonu, and you'll be able to vote for him in this role of Student President of Communication and Democracy. The last candidate to speak for this position will be Maz Vora. So Maz, if you're unable to unmute your microphone and begin, you have 2 minutes.
Hello, so I'm Maz Vora. I'm a fourth-year management with marketing student. I'm the current student school officer for ABS, and I'm the president of the Erasmus Student Network in RGU just now. So I've been a student of RGU for the past 4 years, and I have participated in many student-related activities in the last 4 years with the union, with the societies. So I understand the students and I understand the university. and I really believe in working towards the welfare and success of the university. I have personally benefited a lot from RGU and various things that RGU offer, and I would like to do the same for the current and the future student by improving on that and maybe starting new things. Some of the main objectives that I have are, first one is to improve the international students' employment. I would like to work with the university's careers department in improving the employment for international students, especially once they graduate. The current one is a bit low considering how the things are. So I would like to work with the careers department and see if we could partner with more companies that could provide more RGU specific roles specifically for international students. My one other objective would be to work to make our campus more eco-friendly and sustainable. With the environmental challenges that are in the world right now, we all have a responsibility to become more eco-friendly and environment-friendly. So I would like to ensure if we can reduce the plastic use on the campus as much as we can, or any other product that is harmful to the environment. I have a few other objectives. Look at my manifesto and vote for me as Communication Democracy President. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maz. And a reminder, just to double check, is Rahim on the call? I don't think so. So you have one more candidate who is not able to be on the call, which is Rahim Lawel, and you can view his manifesto on the RGU Union website. And a reminder that for all of these positions, you do have one other secret candidate, which is reopen nominations. So you as a voting population can decide that actually, unfortunately, even though there are 7 candidates for this position, perhaps none of them appeal to the vote that you want to give. So you can choose to say reopen nominations, and if that candidate wins the election, it means that that position will not be filled and will be reopened at a later period. So that is an option. You can view the information about that online. So that is all the candidates for President of Communication and Democracy. So we're now going to go into questions. A reminder to everyone that you can submit questions on Twitter or Facebook at the RGU Union pages, and we'll be able to ask the candidates some questions. So I'm going to go in order. So we'll start with Ross, and then we'll go to Nathan, Ursula, Lauren, Stanley and Maz. So we'll go to Ross for this first question. So unmute your microphone, and the question is, communication is a really key part of one of the roles you're going to be doing, so it's half of the main title. What will you do to improve the way the union communicates with students, and not just those on campus, but those who are online as well? So how will you improve how the union communicates with students? You have 1 minute to answer this question, I believe. So I'll go to Ross first.
So I think that the way that we're all kind of consuming media and getting the information from the university is changing. It's not just as simple now as using the email or using our social media channels. So it's about being a bit more innovative, using the student media that we've got available, using the various different forums that we have, and then also kind of reaching out to those students that aren't on campus. So whether that be through, we already have kind of a weekly news bulletin from the union, but thinking of some more innovative ways to do that. So using various different campaigns over social media, films like this, so kind of monthly video diaries from presidents and vice presidents. The union website's great. They've got the various different kind of news functions, and they've also got, on top of that, they've got the kind of, you can do live streams and that kind of thing. So making sure that we're really using that, things like this, where it's kind of engaging with students, and they can actually ask the questions as well as us just kind of giving our kind of standard answers.
Thank you very much. So that was Ross's answer. And next person to speak is Nathan. So how will you improve the way the union communicates with students? You have 1 minute, Nathan.
I'll, especially as now we're transitioning to online learning, I'll make sure that we listen to all the students and what they're wanting. And as soon as we see something, that we can start communicating that with the university's management. We also need to be proactive in what we're doing, and if we have to go into into the accommodations and that and ask people, because we need to ask people what do they want and what do they want to communicate, because some people might not want to say what they want, so we need to somehow break that barrier so that they can get what they need, because there's lots of students that have got lots of needs. And also we need to be onto the university management. As soon as we know something, we've been given something, and we need to tell who we've said who we're going to tell as soon as possible, so that something can be done with it. And even if nothing can be done with it, we also need to feed that back to the students, and so that they don't forget about it.
Okay, thank you very much, Nathan. So the next person we're going to go to is Ursula. Ursula, if you're able to unmute your microphone, maybe say hello and then wait a couple of seconds and then start. You have 1 minute. So how will you improve the way the union communicates with students? Ursula.
All right, thank you. So currently the union has several means of communication to students. I think what we have to do now is to make more use of the My RGU app, because it's not just a mobile timetabling app, it's also like a communication app. And the union has a slot there where they can send out messages to students, of which I'm sure a lot of students have that app, and then they can reach out to them. We also have the Wired magazine, and then we can use it much more to like reach out to them. And also what has really worked well for us since we've started this year was the using our social media channels, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, to reach out and drive out several campaigns we in the union have been doing. If we've seen it and it's been working well, we could do much more and take it around across the campus as well.
Lovely, thank you very much, Ursula. So the next person to speak will be Lauren Taylor. Lauren, how will you improve the way the union communicates with students?
Well, part of my manifesto is to improve engagement with student media groups. I think they're an underused way to communicate and a platform for the student voice, really. I also think that going out and actually speaking to people face to face, I know that only kind of affects people on campus, but still it's something that could be done. And also, I think as well, just showing some transparency in what presidents are working on, showing that they are working on things and showing that something couldn't be improved could also improve engagement, because then, you know, the students know what you're actually doing and know that you are trying to make changes that could help them.
Thank you very much, Lauren. Next person to answer this question will be Stanley. So if you're able to unmute your microphone and then give it a second before you speak. So how will you improve the way the union communicates with students, including those off campus? Stanley.
Thank you. Well, as the previous speakers have actually spoken, that there are so many ways of communicating to the student, but there's one thing I want to actually make very clear, which is what? One-on-one discussion with the students, because there are some students that might really find it very difficult to go online and air their views. But when you have communications with them, one-on-one communications with them, you can have that opportunity to drive out those things, those hidden agendas in them, because they might be scared to bring it out. So we need to really come close to the students, you know, to discuss one-on-one with them and get information that would really help in their own aspect, because there are needs and there are wants. Needs are things you cannot do without. Why wants are things you can do without. So meeting them one-on-one and getting the information, and also getting some platforms where you can discuss with them one-on-one. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Stanley. Very nice. Thank you. So the next person to answer this question, last person in this round, will be Maz. So the question is, how will you improve the way the union communicates with students, including those off campus? Maz.
Hi. So I think the best way to do is heighten the platform that we already have, maybe the Facebook page, the Instagram page that we already have. Heighten it and reduce the number of platforms, maybe keep one page on each platform, and post there regularly, update on it regularly, make the content more engaging, maybe invest on the time on the content rather than on a new platform, I think. And as long as, I think, make the content more interesting and interactive to the audience, maybe spread it to more platforms like Twitter. I think we're already there, but maybe strong on it more, even TikTok maybe, because most of the students are going on that. Yeah, make the content more interactive and interesting for the students to make sure they're actually listening, and maybe have a monthly or once in 2 months a themed event, a physical event, just like societies do. To maybe it's a social event, but they can meet union members. Thank you
very much, Maz. Okay, so that's all our candidates for this particular position. Before I move on to the next question, someone on Facebook has asked a direct question to Lauren. So we're going to cut to Lauren in a second. And the question for you is, have you done any work to prevent food poverty previously? You have 1 minute, Lauren. Oh, Lauren, you have to unmute your microphone, sorry.
Sorry. Through working with the magazine, we teamed up with the Gender Equality and Feminism Society and Film Society to hold a can drive, which was for a food bank in Aberdeen. It was really successful. And then also in December 2018, the editorial team raised over £800 for the Sleep in the Park. So we've done a lot of things for, various groups outside of uni, but now it's time to focus on preventing food poverty on campus and with our people.
Thank you very much, Lauren. So the next question is going to be, in your opinion, what is the biggest challenge facing societies and student groups, and how would you help to solve this? So as a student president, you'll be responsible for looking after these groups. So how will you solve the biggest challenge? So we'll come back round again and we'll start with Ross Leven. You have 1 minute. How will you solve society's biggest problems?
So I think one of the biggest problems for societies is kind of getting the students involved and having the processes available to not keep in touch with these students, but get them involved throughout the year. I know we found that in the societies I've been part in. It's great that you have freshers and you can then get students involved, but then keeping them involved and actually getting them signed up, all the kind of logistical struggles of that. So looking at, I know some great work's already been done by the union team to kind of move some things online. But maybe looking at, for example, the cost of tickets and selling them online. Is there any way to reduce the admin fees that go along with that? Is there any way to modernise the way that we do that and the way that we sign up to societies online? And then finally looking at events, and is there any way that the union can help kind of promote these more and kind of take some of the stress out of it for students? And I know that the union already does a lot of that, and there's a lot of kind of the work that goes on behind the scenes, but I think that's something that we can really work on.
Thank you very much, Ross. And next person is Nathan. So what is the biggest challenge facing societies and student groups, and how will you help them solve this? Nathan.
I think I've been part of 2 societies over the past kind of 2 years, and a lot of it's down to money. There's a lot of money that you've got to spend into these societies. So I really think there has to be a lot more free societies, or especially within the sports, like a health membership version where you're just going to socialise. And I'd like to see if we could develop that so that you're not competing, you're just going there to get some exercise, and you're not pressured into actually doing anything, because I felt that I've been kind of pressured over the past 2 years, and that's obviously going to get a lot more people involved in some of the societies and through the cultural societies. Within the Asian Society, which hasn't really run this year, I'd like to see if we could develop that more, because RGU is such a big Asian community, especially South Asian community. So we've got all these international students that we kind of need to get involved more again, especially because they are away from home.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Next person to speak will be Ursula. So we'll go to Ursula next. So what are societies and student groups' biggest problem, and how will you go to solve this?
All right, thank you. So one of the problems societies face is handover and their society AGMs. So I would like to work with the volunteer coordinator, the VP for societies, as well as society president, to see how we can develop a structure that is well aligned for societies to hand over to the incoming ones, and then so that it's well structured and it's not a hackling process for the societies.
Thank you very much, Ursula. Next, we will go to Lauren. So, Lauren, what is the biggest problem facing societies and how will you solve it?
I think that one of the biggest problems facing societies right now is kind of student engagement with them. I feel like they're not really kind of brought to the forefront right now. I think that basically there needs to be more kind of push to show what societies we have available on campus, perhaps going out and like at freshers and like the first week introductions, perhaps just pushing students to go out and join everything possible that they can get involved in, and showing them what it could do for them throughout their years at uni. I also think that student media groups could also highlight all the different things that we have going on in RGU, and by promoting these things we can make our campus more of a community.
Thank you, Lauren. And next person will be Stanley. Stanley, so in your opinion, what's the biggest challenge facing societies and student groups, and how will you solve it?
All right, thank you very much for asking me that question. It's very, very important. One thing I understand is communication. Communication is one problem that everybody actually have in the society these days. Like, for an instance, the virus outbreak that actually came out. You see, so many people communicated and kept on saying that this happened, that happened, but understanding the communication is another thing. So bringing up a platform and one-on-one, really trying to know your people and letting them know you and really understanding the view you're coming from, it will really go a very long way to make them really understand what exactly you're talking about, how you're talking about it, and how you really want to make them understand the fact that they really need to play a part in making this positive change and all that. But I believe connection and trying to communicate to them in a level ground for them to really understand your view is a very, very important way to change that. Thank you.
Thank you, Stanley. And the last question and the last person to speak in this round will be Maz. So Maz, in your opinion, what's the biggest challenge facing societies and how will you solve it?
Hi. I think one of the main problems societies have is providing value for the membership that they pay, whatever they charge. One of the easiest thing I think is to do in order to help societies is societies. Some societies are small, some societies are big, so it's hard for smaller societies to like create partnership with the various venues, maybe restaurants, bars, cafes, whatever else. So maybe I can, what I could do easily, which I have done for my society before, is I can create a membership for all the societies with various venues, and yeah, improve partnership with venues, and that can give discounts, or even venues like to sponsor with funding. So offer this to all the societies if they would like it, and which could help them give more value to their members.
Thank you very much, Maz. So the last question in this round, so that's our Presidents of Communication and Democracy. I'm going to ask one more question, but you don't all have to answer it. So I'll ask if you are interested in answering this question, unmute your microphone and I'll be able to see if you want to ask, and then I'll chime in and point to you if you are going to be answering the question. So the question is, a number of your manifestos contain references to on-campus services, social spaces, catering facilities. You often discuss this in election campaigns. So how will you make sure progress is made so that you can fulfill this? So, you know, if you want to see social spaces, for example, if that's one of your manifesto aims, how will you make sure that that's achieved? So I can see one person, so I'm going to cut to Nathan. Nathan, you will have 1 minute to answer this question. If anyone else wants to chip in, unmute your microphone and I'll be able to tell. Nathan, 1 minute.
Hi, I'm speaking to all the Grace students currently at Grace School of Art or in the Gathie Annex. We are, in terms of a school, the most separated school from the university. Our facilities are some of the least funded in the school and the least developed, and we're ongoing to try and get a new Grace School of Art built. However, we know that the university's budget is very low and they're not going to do it anytime soon. So we kind of need to bring all the art books in the library over to Grace and start really developing the studios we have there effectively, because it's over 2 schools and the annex is all the communication students. So I really want to try and work with Libby Curtis, the head of school there, to best use all the facilities we have in the annex and in the Grays because I really feel as an art school that we're really separated, but we kind of need to get more active in how we work together.
Thank you very much, Nathan. So the next person to speak, who's unmuted their microphone, is Ross Leven. Ross, you have 1 minute to answer this question.
So I think looking at the kind of the wider, looking at the question across all the different manifesto points that we've made, I think the main thing is about having workable relationships with the university. It's great to be able to stand up in kind of elections and make the points and then fight or kind of stand up on behalf of students, but it's also about having those relationships and making sure that as we go forward throughout the year, we're working with the key people at the university. And I think that the great thing about me having spent a year doing the VP role as well is kind of these relationships are already in place, and spent a lot of time working with, whether it be Delta, Estates, kind of the support services, and all of these different people. So I think that's something that we really do have to focus on, is the day-to-day working relationships and how we can make sure that it's constructive rather than just sending out an email saying we want this and that's what we're going to do.
Okay, thank you, Ross. I don't see any other participants coming in that question, but thank you to all of the candidates for President of Communication and Democracy. That's the end of the question round at this phase, but please do stay on the line because there may be opportunities for you to ask questions or questions from the public coming in at the very end, so please stay involved. Okay, so the next position we are going to turn to is going to be President of Education and Welfare, and in this role, we have two candidates. We have Emmanuel and Jade who are running for this position. So as before, you will have 2 minutes to introduce yourself, your manifesto aims, and why people should vote for you. So we're going to go in alphabetical order by surname again. So the first person, if you're able to unmute your microphone and turn your video on, is going to be Emmanuel for President of Education and Welfare. You have 2 minutes.
Hello. Hi, everyone. It's me, Emmanuel. I am the current president for Education and Welfare and Student Union. And I'm running again to be president this year because in the last 1 year since being elected, I have done a lot of good work. I initiated the 24/7 study space and by working in partnership with the university and the union staff to achieve that facility for students, amongst other campaigns as well, such as mental health campaign, gender-based violence campaign, and supporting all the other student groups within education and welfare, such as the student reps, the school officers, and the equality champions. I've also achieved so many other things, but I don't really have the time to put that forward at the moment. This year, I am very, very focused on a few things. Just like so many of the other candidates have said, I am very focused on securing a student union social space and bar for students, because 2 years ago, a student survey was put out, and gather the student voice around what students want for the social space. And since elected, myself and the other elected members of the executive of the union have covered so much ground in the last 6 months, where we've got the university to listen. We're currently looking at the possible spaces around campus, but more importantly, I am running again because I want to see that dream come to life. My other campaign, my other aims in my manifesto would be around fair parking. I have raised this issue already with the estates departments of the university, and my idea going forward is I believe that we have more students on campus now, so there should be a more fairer system of allocating parking spaces to students. And there are more. Please check out my manifesto aims on the Student Union website. And please vote for me as Emmanuel, #1 candidate for the Student Union President, Education and Welfare. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Emmanuel. That was your first candidate for President of Education and Welfare. So the next person I'm going to turn to is Jade Robertson. Jade, please unmute your microphone and you have 2 minutes.
Hi, so my name is Jade. I'm currently a 4th-year media student. In the past, I've been involved with lots of societies. I've been on committees since my 2nd year, when I was also working as a student ambassador with Delta. My main manifesto aims are sort of increase LGBTQ plus engagement across the university. So I want to like celebrate the vibrant community we have here within the university. I also want to promote awareness about autism and ADHD in adults. It's something I feel doesn't get spoken about a lot, and it has, it's something that it affects a lot of people, and it's very hard to get help through the NHS. So I just want to provide support for that as well. I also want to improve the counselling services within the uni. We have a massive amount of students and a comparatively tiny amount of counsellors, and it creates a massive workload, and it makes it very hard for students to get help in a timely fashion. And I really want to help improve that. I also want to promote, our student officers, our quality champions, who are just doing fantastic work. I want to help promote them. I want to, help their campaigns be seen, and I want to, support the student networks as well. So, there are networks being set up by our quality champions that I want to support, and I want to support ones that are existing right now. I have a ton of different ideas, including obviously ones from the AGM this year. So looking at accessibility on campus, looking at everyone getting a fair meal, a fair chance. I also want to raise the point of the... Okay, I will come back to that, but thank you very much for listening, and I hope you vote for me as the #1 candidate.
Thank you very much, Jade. So that is our two candidates for President of Education and Welfare, done their introductions. If you have questions now, then please do comment on the live stream, or if they're tweet us in at RGU Union. I have a question first of all, so I'm going to go to Jade first and then Emmanuel, just to swap it around a little bit. How will you lead and promote student welfare support services, and how do you help to develop the union and the university support department? So what change would you make in terms of the support offered? So you have 1 minute to answer this question, Jade. I'll come to you first.
So in terms of promoting it, I think my media background will be really helpful in that, because a big part of that is marketing. And that is obviously very useful in pushing a campaign out to make it visible to students. I also think it's important that students know where they can get help, because sometimes I don't see very much information about, say, Nightline outside of freshers events. So I think that is also very important to promote. Ideally, I would like to hire some more counseling staff. I know that will take a lot of working with the uni itself and working with budgets, but I do just want to somehow improve that for the students so that they have a better ease of access to help.
Thank you very much, Jade. So now we'll go to Emmanuel. So how will you lead to improve student welfare services? Emmanuel, you have 1 minute.
Hello again. Thanks, Edward. It's very, very simple and straightforward. It's all about being proactive, being evident, and showing commitment, to be honest. Since the start of the whole COVID-19 pandemic, I, as a student president, have put myself actively forward to work in partnership with the university to capture the student voice, student concerns, feed it to the university, as well as bring back that feedback to students. For me, in this period, or even before this period, student welfare must be top priority for the university and the union, such as things like mental health and every other welfare campaign that I'm running at the moment. But I believe in working in partnership with all the student support services like counseling and even the university management group to provide that welfare for students. But it's all about being proactive. Thank you.
Thank you, Emmanuel. And the next question I'm going to ask is just going to be a little bit similar, particularly in this role of President of Education and Welfare. You have a responsibility to make sure students are safe, and one of those issues might be around student funding or particular hardships that people are facing, but also around employability. And in the current situation, that's a worry on a lot of students' minds is, how do I get a job? How do I have enough funding? So if elected to this position, how would you solve those issues and reassure students? I'm going to come to you, you, Emmanuel, and you might want to move your phone slightly away from your face a little bit. Emmanuel, you have 1 minute. How would you support students around welfare, funding, and employability?
Thank you very much, Edward. That question I'm already answering at the moment because I'm already proactively doing that. I've already put forward the student concerns to the university to ask questions like students who can't go home at the moment, how's the university going to support them? The online learning we're moving to, how do we support students who don't have laptops? For example, students who have traveled home but live in student accommodation, how do we support them with rent payment and all that? I am gathering all of that information. I feed it to the university. And even, for example, hardship funds that are not available to some students, like international students, how do we support them as well? At the moment, I am proactively doing that, and I'm going to continue doing that going forward. For employability, I already have been working with the eHub team. Myself and some members of the exec have already been working with the employability hub already. We help them with the employability conference, bringing student circles on campus and all that. So it's just being proactive, and those are my ideas in regards to student welfare. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So next we'll go to Jade. So the same question in this world of change, what would you do to support students around well-being, funding, and employability?
So I think in terms of funding, it's very important to work closely with both the students and the uni on that, and take student feedback and student concerns to the uni to work out how we can support them if we can at all, and just do what we can for them. I know a lot of people, I know personally people who do struggle to pay their rent because maybe their student loan money is not enough for their rent and their food, and have to take up part-time jobs, which does then impact onto the time they have to study. So I do just really want to look at just how we can support students during that. In terms of employability, I would want to work with the schools as well, because I know that there are employability sessions run by schools. I'd want to increase those, so students can get just access to as much information as they can, and also work very closely with the employability team here at the university, and support students sort of as much as we can and give them as much advice and support as we can. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jade. So there's a couple of questions here about the welfare side of the role. So now I want to have a quick look at the education side, which is obviously about representing students' views. In your role, you'll be directly responsible for supervising class representative structures, school officers, but also equality champions. So I want to ask, and I'll flip around again, so I'll go Jade and then Emmanuel. How will you enhance these systems? So how will you enhance and support student representatives and school officers to work in partnership with the university, but also the equality champions, and how will you enhance that particular scheme? So you have 1 minute on how you'll enhance student representation at RGU. Jade, over to you.
So what I would like to see is almost reports from the student officers, the class reps, everybody that way. And so we can sort of keep an eye on what they're doing. We can sort of streamline the process right through, from student input right the way through to university output, and also just really promote everybody so people are aware of what it is they're doing. So for example, people within courses are aware of what their class rep can do for them, so that people for the equality champions are aware of what their equality champion can do for them, and make sure everyone is very aware, push it very proactively, but also make sure that the students are doing these things that they say they are doing as well, so that these changes are being made for the students. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Over to you, Emmanuel. Same question. What will you do to enhance the wider student representation structures at the university?
Thank you, Edward. I believe that the student representative structure is the core of gathering student feedback. That's why, since elected, myself and the VP Education started the Chat Comment Change campaign, where we have a drop-in session and meet all the student reps, the school officers, and equality champions to gather student feedback. We also have an online platform on forum and Moodle where we gather information and pass. That's how we gather all the student concerns and all that. I believe it's all about enhancing what we already have done. In the last 6 months since being elected, we've trained over 249 reps, and we've got feedback that 99% of those who attended the training think it was great. So it's all about, and we've also recorded that training as well to put it online. So online distance learning reps who can't come to campus can have access to it. So it's just all about improving the system. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And the last question to come in for this particular round is also on this education topic. So that's 2 for welfare, 2 for education, is the student learning experience is everything tangible to do with your course around assessment and feedback and all of those types of things. So for students in their learning environment, what would you say is the top priority to change at RGU? So you have to work with the university to change something. What is the biggest concern for students in terms of their learning experience, and what would you work on for that? Okay, so I'm going to come to Emmanuel first. You have 1 minute. What's the top priority to enhance the student learning experience?
At the moment, there's a big one that was raised at the AGM already, the 20-day feedback return policy. I'm working already on that with the VP for education in gathering that. And I believe it's very, very important to students for it to have come through the AGM. Another student learning experience issue at the moment that I have been able to gather personally is the access of facilities and support for students to learn online, which is probably those who don't have the laptops or personal devices to be able to learn online. How can we support them in that area? And I'm currently working on that, and I want to improve that as well going forward. So definitely 100%. I think the student learning experience is the core of your learning experience while at RGU. So I believe as a student president for education and welfare, putting that as also top priority is very important. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Emmanuel. And the same question to you, Jade. What's the top priority for improving the student learning experience at RGU?
So currently my top priority, obviously aside from the 20-day return policy, which is obviously has been a very big issue, but also attendance to classes. I have spoken with different students who have said at just varying points throughout the course they have just not felt motivated to attend, and it has negatively impacted their performance. So I would want to be looking at a way to bring students in either into uni or do sort of distance learning in a way where we can make sure everybody gets the same chance, you know, whether they are perhaps struggling with health issues or time issues, that we can support everyone to get the best education they can, because that is, of course, why they are coming to university. It's sort of the whole appeal of coming to university. So I do want to support students in any way I can to get just the best education they can and the best chances moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So that was Emmanuel and Jade, your nominated candidates for the President of Education and Welfare. And a reminder that you do have our lovely friend Ron, which is reopen nominations, so that if the things you've heard today don't appeal to you, you can vote for somebody else to be reopened in nominations. So thank you to yourselves. The drawback of having so many great candidates means that it's quite a long time, but we're doing good. We're going to move on to President of Sport and Physical Activity in a second. But I have noticed that Raheem, who was one of our candidates for President of Education, for Communication and Democracy, has joined the call. So if Raheem can hear me, if you don't mind unmuting your microphone in a second, and you will have 2 minutes to give an introduction to who you are and what your manifesto aims are. So I'm not sure, hopefully he can hear us. Raheem? Oh, perhaps not. Okay, I might only have to give you a couple of seconds. Okay, We may have to come back to you, Raheem, if you're able to join us, but I wanted to give you the opportunity there. We may have technical issues with that, but don't worry, because we still have some more amazing candidates to speak to. So we are going to move on now to President of Sport and Physical Activity. And in this role, we have 3 candidates. One of them is not able to join us. So Bart Grabinski is not able to join us on the call, but you can view his manifesto online. But we're now going to move on to have a 2-minute introduction to who you are and what your manifesto aims are going to be. So the first person, again in alphabetical order, of last name is going to be James Bishop. James, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you very much. So yeah, my name is James Bishop. Everyone knows me as Bish. You can call me literally whatever you want, and I am a 4th-year media student. I played sport literally at quite a high level throughout all my life, so I feel like I would be a good candidate for this role. So from a manifesto, there's a couple of things I'll highlight which I would intend to do should I be elected. The first one is to try and introduce sport being played recreationally throughout as many clubs as possible. I feel like that would be a really good way for people to meet friends, for those especially who didn't get into sport clubs. So for example, football and rugby, I know there's trials, etc. And if they didn't get in, I think it'd be a good thing to do, but to be able to go and play sport out with it, and as I said, you'll be able to meet loads of people. Secondly, I feel as if giving increased recognition to people and teams who have done really well in a season is quite important. There's a lot of teams and sports people that go under the radar at RGU. I feel as if we were to highlight them more, it would actually showcase their talents, and I think everyone would be quite shocked, to be honest, at the stature of how big some people have gone in terms of their sporting achievements. For me personally, I feel like I would be a good candidate because, first of all, I've got links with VSN from a personal point of view. I know someone who works for VSN, so hopefully I could make that tie a bit closer and get things like kits a bit more efficient, etc. So yeah, that would be something good. And also, I know a lot of people who are in these sport clubs, and I care not only about, as I'm sure everyone else is, as about these sport clubs, but also about them. And I feel like that would be my evidence to show that I would really, really put my absolute all into getting this job should I be elected. Thanks.
Thank you very much, James.
No problem.
Our next candidate who will give a 2-minute introduction to themselves is Jordan Moore. Jordan, you have 2 minutes.
Hello guys, thank you for joining us in the question time. So I'm Jordan, I'm a 4th-year nutrition student and I'm current Vice President of Sport, also President of Netball, and I've been on SPAT, part of Sports Clubs for my whole time at university. I'm really, really passionate about sport and physical activity, so I'm just going to run you through a few of my key aims. Really, the heart of my campaign is to instill the value of university sport. I think it's a really valuable thing that we have, and oh my goodness, there's my dog. And I love sport. Anyway, she's distracting me now. So I really want to design and implement full committee training. We have a lot of talented individuals, and I think being part of a committee on a sports club is a really good way to enhance your CV and enhance your personal skills throughout your time at uni. Also to develop a proper coaching infrastructure, so we have a lot of talented athletes, as mentioned. I think if they have the proper coaching, who knows what they could achieve within our sports clubs. Also, just to encourage and promote a positive culture within our clubs. Sports clubs can be quite intimidating. I want everyone to feel like they're able to join at any point. So this could be like redesigning Freshers Fair, making it more welcoming, accessible and inclusive. Also to continue to ensure the financial sustainability of sports clubs. Obviously we all fundraise, so I think it's really important to instill this within our sports club members and make them recognise why we're fundraising, what we're fundraising for, and just taking responsibility for our own budget. Yeah, so that's basically all of my key aims. I've balanced a lot of things while I've been at university. I'm really good at communicating, really transparent as well. So yeah, please vote for me. That's all I really have to say. More with more. That's my slogan, my hashtag. I forgot to say it. I've been putting it everywhere. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jordan, and thank you to our guest dog. The dog's not my vote, but of course I'll wait to make a judgment on the candidates until the end. Going back to James then, Jordan briefly touched on this, but I want to talk a little bit about club fundraising, because that is something that comes up quite a lot, and they have set fundraising targets. I guess my question, slightly difficult at the moment, because I imagine clubs, we don't know how long the current situation would go, but how would you work with the clubs to make sure they meet those fundraising targets? So I'll give James, you've got 1 minute. How would clubs meet a fundraising target?
I feel as if, to begin with, it would be good to go around every single club and just make sure that myself, should I be president, and then we're aware of a full plan for the whole year, knowing and outlining what their fundraising targets would be and how they were going to achieve that. I feel like doing that on a one-to-one basis, maybe more so than doing it in a forum, would be quite beneficial, because I feel as if then there would be clear daylight as to what is expected of them and to what is expected of me and to how they're going to go forward in achieving their fundraising goal.
Thank you very much. We'll now move to Jordan. Same question. You have 1 minute, so unmute your microphone and tell us about how you would support club fundraising.
Yes, I think it's really important to highlight to every single member of the club, not just the committee, the importance of fundraising. It can feel like you're asking for quite a lot of money, as my experience as a president, that you're constantly asking them to pay for things, and then you really need to realise the impact that they're having on their club and the things that they're getting for quite a small price when they pay in the membership. So I think making sure it's a whole club thing, every single member is aware, and also just supporting them with all club fundraising events. So taking the pressure off the individual clubs and using SPAT, the Sport and Physical Activity team, and the president to promote events that clubs can then make money from themselves, if that makes sense. So using the whole sports forum to help each other.
Lovely, thank you very much. A reminder to everyone who is watching on Facebook Live, please do let us know if you have questions for your potential sports presidents. The next thing I want to mention is sport. Part of your role is, of course, the management of the sports clubs, but it's also about the wider university community and how do you engage them in sport and physical activity. So what is your activities that you would do to engage people who aren't involved in sports clubs to be physically active and to live a healthy lifestyle as part of your role? So I'll maybe go to Jordan and then James again on that one. So Jordan, how would you engage those who aren't involved in sports clubs to be physically active at university?
So I'm really glad you mentioned this, because this is on my manifesto, is to encourage non-active students to become active. And I think by having maybe like a Wednesday afternoon, which is dedicated to sports already, to invite everyone along, would run a variety of different activities. It doesn't even have to be like traditional sports as such. It could be anything. We've had American football in the past. Just to come along and give something a go, just about being active, showing them different ways of being active, even encouraging things like walking meetings. To kind of get them integrated in physical activity, and then you can promote sports clubs through that way and get them involved. I think it's just about communication really as well, making sure that everyone knows where sports clubs are and what we do, and that we're not just for competition, we're for recreational activity too.
Thank you very much, Jordan. Same question to you, James. How would you engage those who aren't involved in sport to be physically active?
So coming from a media background, this is something that I know quite well, this field. I feel as if being able to promote these things through social media would reach out to quite a lot of people. And I know specific ways in which we'd be able to do this, perhaps for people who aren't familiar with playing sport, they don't play sport too often. So I think that would be how I would intend to do that going forward, in terms of reaching out to as many people as possible. There's obviously many things we could do in terms of creating events for them, creating difference, for example, as I was mentioning, recreational sports. But I feel as if promoting them that way and reaching out in the ways that I feel like I know I'd be able to do would be my method of going forward to reach out to these people.
Thank you very much. So my next question is, sports is seen as a really strong community at the university. If you're part of a sports club, you feel really well tied into that community while studying. They often make friends for life through those types of activities. But beyond that, how would you look to engage communities like alumni or the wider public in what is happening at RGU Sport? You know, things like Granite City Challenge and boat races and these wider sports competitions. Would you have a way of getting more people involved, and should more people be involved? So I'll maybe go to James first again. You have 1 minute. How would you engage alumni or the wider community in sport?
So there's a couple ways that I actually thought would be quite good to do this. And firstly, there's obviously Purple Wednesdays that goes on. We could continue with that and then promoting it just externally, as well as just sending internal emails to all students at RGU. Along with this, you know, if people don't want to watch this, they don't want to click on the link, then there could just be a weekly newsletter that's created just outlining what's happening at RGU, what's going on, and maybe things to look forward to. And again, just sending that to alumni, people who have been at RGU, etc., etc. And I think that would be quite an easy read for them. It wouldn't exactly take an awful lot of their time just to quickly glance at a newsletter. So that would be my two main ways to do this.
Thank you. And the same question for you, Jordan. How would you engage alumni in the community in sports activity?
So I think I had quite a good idea for alumni is maybe at the start of the semester you have the freshers that come in versus the alumni in the sport that they're joining. So maybe like a football alumni, people that have maybe just graduated or further, against the new freshers that come in. I think this could bring the whole club together. So the freshers are joining in with activities, as some of the members already know the alumni. Just kind of gets everyone integrated, and a really fun way to do it. Also, as James said, like advertising out with RGU to alumni and the community that we do have sports clubs, and that maybe we could have a structure in place that alumni are welcome back. They can pay to train. I don't know how that would work logistically, but they can come back and train with their club. As obviously, as you mentioned, we are a big community. Everyone enjoys being part of a sports club, and it is quite sad when you graduate and you have to leave and move on. So just making sure that we keep that link together, maybe introduce a committee position with someone who's an alumni link, working to keep them involved in the club when they graduate.
Thank you very much. And then another question I'm going to add here is, I believe you've both been involved in club management and spats and organising fixtures and these types of things. If elected, let's call it a year's time, we're at elections 2021, what is the one big thing you have achieved for people who are running a sports club? You know, have you made it easier? Have you made it, you know, more membership? Have you changed something? What's the one big thing you want to have achieved if elected for sports clubs specifically in a year's time? So again, I'll maybe come to Jordan and then on to James as well. So 1 minute, what one big thing would you like to have achieved?
So on my manifesto, actually, the first point is full committee training. I want every single member of the committee to be trained fully, or maybe rolling this resource out on Moodle as well, so it's accessible to everyone. But I want them to know what their role is, what they're meant to be doing, what they're gaining from this role, key points they can put on their CV relating to this role, like key tasks, key activities. I think this is really important, and also this is going to work to maintaining adherence and also encouraging other people to be part of a committee when they realise it's a recognised and supported position. So in a year's time, if we can have a full committee training process rolled out, that would be absolutely wonderful.
Thank you very much, Jordan. And the same question to you, James. In 1 year's time, what's the big change you've made for people managing sports clubs?
The big change that I would have probably have liked to have made for people managing sports clubs is, first of all, I feel as if those that are leaving, they're obviously able to give to the next president, like, and set them in a really good stead going forward. But they're, you know, it's very clear. It basically make it life a lot more easier for them. I feel as if they leave and if they've gone and they've felt really happy and they've had a lot of good memories in my time, I feel like I would feel quite happy about that. I feel as if that's quite one of the main things. I know there's obviously a job to do, whilst running it, but I also feel like, you know, not forget it is a big fun part of our life, being part of a sports club and being involved in them. If people are also more likely to play sport when they leave university, I feel like I would feel very pleased if I had achieved that, because obviously leaving university, it's kind of difficult to kind of go and keep playing sports. If they manage to do that, I'd feel very very content.
Thank you very much. So we've covered sports clubs, physical activity and engagement. That's excellent. So thank you so much to our two candidates for President of Sport and Physical Activity. And you can read also information about our other candidate who's not able to speak, which is Bart Grabinski, on the RGU Union website. You could view his manifesto and read about that. And of course, you have a lovely friend, Ron, who you also have the opportunity to vote for. So before we move on to our Vice President candidates, I'm going to ask again if Rahim is here for President of Communication and Democracy. Rahim, if you can hear me. Oh yes, we have a light. Okay.
Yes, so I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. So Rahim, I'm going to give you 2 minutes to introduce yourself. If you're able to make sure your webcam and microphone are on, you have 2 minutes to introduce yourself, who you are, and what your manifesto aims are. Okay, so this is Rahim for President of Communication and Democracy. You have 2 minutes.
Yes, hello everyone. My name is Rahim Lawal, a postgraduate student of Marketing Department, RGU. So what I actually have for my manifesto is because I noticed that most societies are filled with undergraduate students. So I would like to bring about the involvement of postgraduate students in different societies. And also I noticed that to join many societies, there are payments that are required. So I also like to put up a move that will make joining societies free for all, though they can be voluntary donations from students, but to make those societies free for all students, both postgraduate and undergraduate, to be able to join these different societies also. And I noticed that there are not much people live online, the RGU website, presently listening to this live feed. So I would like to bring more awareness to the student union so that all students can know about the student union and all students can be willing to participate in every RGU events that are taking place. So generally, my main manifesto, my main aim is to work for the students, to make students able to join different societies free of charge and not being mandatory for them to pay to join any society. Because being a student should give them every right to participate in whatever society they feel they should be able to participate in. So I'd like to make things free for students. And though there might be voluntary donations after that, but I noticed that more students need to participate in more societies so that these societies can have people involved and not people declining and refusing to join their societies. So that's just it. Basically, I'm trying to work for the students to bring things to be free and affordable for them so they can all participate and be inferior. Yeah, that's all for now. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Raheem. So Raheem is one of your Presidents of Communication and Democracy candidates, and you can find out more about his manifesto online. Thank you very much, Raheem. You may have questions given to you at the end, but you're welcome to mute your microphone now. And just before we move on to Vice Presidents, Jordan and James, I guess you thought you got off lightly, but actually there's one coming on Facebook that I still to ask you. So I'm going to bring you back in, and that is, how will you work to support disabled students and to be engaged in sport and physical activity? So I'll come to James first. 1 minute. How will you support disabled students?
Well, as I mentioned, doing recreational sport is something I would look to maybe try and do if elected, and obviously that would include doing disabled sports, sports for people, in a wheelchair. There's stuff like wheelchair basketball, etc., that I think would be quite not too difficult to organise, as we've got a hall. So basically, it would just be doing that. Literally, if getting them engaged, promoting it to them, as I mentioned before, and just introducing sport recreationally for those who are disabled, or if they wanted to compete, then that's also something we could look into also.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. And the same question to you, Jordan. 1 minute. How will you engage disabled students with sport?
So I think we really need to look at the pathway of disabled students coming to university, so where they're finding out about sports clubs, if they're coming actually into the facility or if they're online, if we can gather this information through their application, and then from there try and figure out what we can offer them. So work with the sports clubs, make the presidents understand what they can and can't offer. It's really important so that if maybe a disabled student goes to a club president directly, they're not turning them away, they're giving them the correct information. So I think we need to work with the president's committee on that. But yeah, also offering activities like boccia, or making sure that we're trained in these things like wheelchair basketball. If we can't offer it, then finding out where we can send them within Aberdeen. So different clubs that could maybe take them. I know that there's basketball Grampian Flyers, and we can signpost them to these places too. So just making sure that we're fully aware of what we can and can't offer. At the moment, working to work on what we can offer, so we can offer it one day maybe, and making sure that everyone's just aware of this information and knows where to get it.
Thank you very much. Okay, so again, that was your President of Sport and Physical Activity candidates. And I'm going to actually keep with the sport theme here for a second, just while everyone's watching the same. And I'm going to move on to the Vice President candidates. So I'm going to move on to Vice President of Sport. And for these candidates, slightly less, because these are part-time roles with the union. So your full-time presidents are competing for paid sabbatical jobs, and your vice presidents are part-time executive officers of the union, but equally they are yours to choose and vote on. So for Cian, you have, for Vice President of Sport, you have a, let me double check, a 1 minute introduction, only 1 minute I'm afraid, to explain who you are and what your manifesto aims are. So Cian, you have 1 minute.
Hi, so my name's Cian. I'm running for Vice President of Sport. I'm third year law student at the university. I am been a member of the cheerleading club since I was in first year, starting off having basically no experience with the sport at all, going in as recreational member in first year to competing in second and third year, and enjoying having a time learning, helping the other club members learn a new sport as well. As part of the role, I want to make sure that people in their sports club feel supported from fundraising from day one, rather than getting to second semester and being told that they haven't done enough, and just offering that support early on, especially for the smaller clubs who maybe low membership means that they can't fundraise in first semester because they're trying to build membership at that time, and working out what works better for smaller clubs and bigger clubs and trying to transfer the fundraising that's going well to the smaller clubs and help out there. Yeah, that's pretty much my main focus, as well as encouraging recreational members as well.
Excellent, thank you very much. So my question for you coming in, and remember everyone, you're welcome to post questions on the Facebook feed, is you'll have to work really closely with the Sport and Physical Activity team and the elected president. So how will you make sure that SPAT, for example, Sport and Physical Activity team as a vehicle, is run effectively, and what will you kind of contribute to that or change to that process if elected as Vice President of Sport?
Well, I was actually on SPAT this year with both James and Jordan, so I know how it runs quite well. I think this year we actually did really well in running our different roles within that. I personally was involved in organising charity work, so I've established links with charities already that can continue on. And I know that the two in charge of wellbeing started off looking at the role of wellbeing ambassadors, and I'd really like to see that continue. So I think one of my main focuses is continuing the good work that's already been done, so that it doesn't just become pointless of a year's work, and also continuing on developing other areas where maybe we need to look at more focus. But I think that like SPAT was run really effectively this year, and I'd just like to continue with that great level.
Excellent, thank you very much. And SPAT generally every year tends to work on campaigns, and I appreciate the president, whoever is elected, will kind of lead on those campaigns. But if you were to put forward a campaign for SPAT to be working on to make a change, what particular campaign do you think is important for sports clubs to be engaged with?
I think the idea of encouraging well-being through sport. Sports clubs aren't just about your physical fitness and your physical health. I know personally, I think that sports clubs do have a massive effect on students' mental health, and it's one of the reasons a lot of students end up continuing on with their university studies, because of the support networks they build. So I think encouraging the idea of positive mental well-being through being part of a sports club might also encourage membership, as people see the other benefits rather than just being part of physical activity. It's also your mental health being looked after as well.
Fantastic, thank you very much. I think that's all the questions we've got for sport. I know it seems really short, you've given up your time, but if anyone has questions, then let me know and I'll be able to ask them at the very end, and there'll be some questions for you, Shian, at the end. Okay, so we're now going to move on to the next position, which is Vice President of Society. So similar to the sports role, this will be working with a president in a voluntary capacity to support the administration and running of the societies and enhancements. So we have one candidate for this position, as well as reopen nominations, and that's Lemuel. So Lemuel, you have 1 minute to give an introduction about who you are and what your manifesto aims are. Thank you.
Hello, hi everyone. I'm Lemuel, as you said. Hope everyone can hear me, right? Okay, good. Well, I'm Lemuel and I'm studying, I'm first year mechanical engineering and offshore. And yeah, I'm keen to work with RGU and the union to support and encourage, events and initiatives set by the societies. And I want to make sure that they work together in the union. I want to make, events that are outstanding events. So I want to make sure that each one of the students are engaged and, engaged and make the most of the time that they have in RGU. So that's pretty much what I want to do. That's it.
Thank you very much. So my question for you, and you will have 1 minute to answer this, is explain what's your experience with societies and how could you improve societies for other students?
Well, actually, I have no experience with societies, to be honest. And I'm part of the international committee now. And I think how can I explain this now? I was in the international committee, and we had so many ideas. And I was like, as inside the international committee, I was quite limited. So I was like, it's better to be part of be a vice president of the society, so I can join everyone together and make something bigger and, outstanding. So it's what I have in mind.
Thank you very much. And another question is, what would you say the biggest challenge facing someone who's running a society would be, or a student group, and how would you solve that challenge? So the biggest issue that's facing president of X society, for example, how would you solve that challenge? 1 minute.
Sorry, I didn't quite get the question.
So would you say, what's the biggest problem someone who's in charge of a society would face? Is it fundraising? Is it, membership? Is it events? What is the biggest problem they're facing, and how would you solve it as vice president of societies?
Well, I think the problem would be maybe the motivation between the representatives of each society. So what I want to bring is assurance, like I want to make sure that each representative of each society is keen to work and make the society grow. So I want to make sure that everything is open and everyone has the same, how can I say, the same opportunity to go and do things for their society. So yeah, creativity, I guess there's no lack of creativity. So I think if we work together, we can make something good. Yeah.
Thank you very much. That was Lemuel, your candidate for Vice President of Societies. You can read her full manifesto on the union website, and of course you have reopen nominations as a candidate as well. We do have one other position that is being contested, which is the Vice President of Education, and there's a candidate called Samuel who is running for that, but unfortunately I can't see them on the call. I'll just double check. I don't think they are here. So unfortunately, we will have to move on from that position, but you can read Samuel's manifesto on the union website, and that'll be for the Vice President of Education position. We're doing well, guys. We can get through this. Some exciting manifesto pledges, some really interesting questions. We had a stray dog jumping into the shot there, so it's going well. So we're going to move on. Those are all student union positions. We're now going to move on to university positions. So this election also includes roles that are slightly different. These are for student places on the University Board of Governors. Now, that is the management and governance board for the university that makes all of the key decisions about the strategy, about finances, about principal appointments, for example. So these are student places. They technically have slightly different role. They aren't necessarily always student representatives. They're there in equal capacity to other members of the board, but bring that student perspective there. So we have two positions up for grabs in this particular candidate space. We have postgraduate governor and undergraduate governor. And then you're each going to have 1 minute to explain why you should be given the position. And then I just have one question for all of those candidates. So your 1 minute is your main opportunity to speak. So I'm going to start with postgraduate governor. And again, we'll go in alphabetical order. So I'm going to ask Rachel. You have 1 minute to explain why you should be the postgraduate governor at RGU. And you may need to unmute your microphone and turn your webcam on for a second. So is Rachel there? This is the union calling. 12 points. Okay, we'll maybe move on to the next one and we'll see. So is Raheem there? Raheem, you're our next candidate for postgraduate governor. So you have 1 minute. Make sure your webcam and microphone are on, and you have 1 minute to explain why you should be postgraduate governor.
Yes, hello. My name is Rahim once again, and I'm contesting for the postgraduate governor. And also, one of my main reasons is for contesting for this post is to help students present their ideas and opinion to the board members, so that they can be able to improve their academic life and experience living in Aberdeen. And also, I want to be able to assist the board in making and implementing fresh ideas that will be beneficial to all students. I want to be like a bridge to the gap between the student and the university board, to be able to hear from the student and be a microphone of the student to speak to the university board, and to help the board to implement good ideas that they have for the students. I want to be able to hear from the student and pass it to the board. And I want to be able to assist the board to implement new, fresh ideas that will be beneficial to all students. Because I believe we should be able to make RGU the experience for all students, to make them proud of being RGU students. I want both local and international students to feel they got the best experience from studying in RGU. So generally, I want to bridge the divide between the students and the board members. That's my main aim.
Very much. Excellent, thank you. So that was Raheem, who is contesting for postgraduate governor. The next person who will have 1 minute to speak is Chante. Sorry. So if you are able to unmute your microphone and make sure your webcam's on, you have 1 minute to explain why you should be elected postgraduate governor.
Hi guys, I'm Chante Pinas and I'm currently in my last year of international business management. I'm also the current undergraduate governor. So the reason why I'm running for the role of postgraduate governor is because I feel that in this year I've gained enough experience to know how the board is being run and what they want from a student governor. Also, I know that there's multiple things that both postgraduate students face and that is not being really voiced out. So I want to be the bridge, like Raheem said, between the students and the board to know what the students are facing, concerns that they might have, especially international students coming with especially the Brexit, etc. So I want to talk regularly with postgraduate students, find out what they're thinking, the concerns and difficulties that they might have, also work with the union to find out what the students are saying to them without coming to me in order to bring this back to the also help the board make effective decisions and how they can implement these effectively and how to communicate best with the students. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And our final candidates, or we have still go back to one more, is Stanley. So Stanley, are you there? And do you have 1 minute to explain why you should be postgraduate governor? Oh, are you there, Stanley? Chigozie? Okay. If not, is Rachel still around?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so I'll maybe come to you, Rachel. So you have 1 minute to explain why you should be postgraduate governor.
All right, no problem. All right. Should I go on and talk? Should I speak?
Yep, you're good to go. You have 1 minute.
All right, thank you. I'm Rachel Adedoku, and I completed an MBA here in RGU, and I'm presently doing a postgraduate. I'm presently doing a PhD, actually. And during my MBA, I was privileged to work as a student ambassador, which allowed me to work one-on-one with students and, get to know students' need. And personally, I have, embarked on helping students resolve issues on campus, which has nothing to do with what the school offers and all of that. So, and that has led me to wanting to go for this role. I feel there's a lot I can contribute to ensure that student needs are being met and represented on the board.
Fantastic. Thank you, Rachel. I'm going to check one more time before I move on. Is Stanley Chigozie there? No? Okay, I may come back to you in a second. Oh, you are here? Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have 1 minute to explain why you should be the postgraduate governor. Thank you, Stanley.
Well, my name is Stanley Chigozie, postgraduate of construction project management. I'm from Nigeria. I always keep on saying I'm not good at giving political comments. I want to stick to my aims, objectives, which are to stand for the voice of students, to protect rights, outside. And I can only do this with transparency, collaborative, effective teamwork with my team. And there's some challenges that we're actually having in communication, and that exactly will be dealt with my previous experience in ASUG and so council law of my club.
Okay. Thank you very much, Stanley. I don't know if it was just me, the audio was a little bit challenging there, so you may need to make sure that you are reading the manifestos for all of these candidates on the RGU Union website. So that was the candidates for postgraduate governor, Rachel, Raheem, Chante and Stanley. And we have one more candidate, which is for undergraduate governor, and that is Ross Leaven. So Ross, you have 1 minute to explain why you should be the undergraduate governor.
Hi everyone. So I think the kind of main point of the undergraduate and the postgraduate governors is to represent students' views on the kind of board of governors of the university. So it's not just about feeding back, but it's actually being part of the decisions and being like an effective in that role. So I think it's about looking at kind of the implementation of the key decisions and then also looking at the finances. And I think it's a really kind of exciting thing to be doing at the moment because we've got the newly elected chair of the board and we've also got the newly appointed principal. So it'll be about shaping their views and shaping the kind of things they're going to be doing over the next year. I think the main reason that I think I'm suited for it is I spent a year sitting on the RGU's academic council as the RGU union representative. So the council kind of looks at the planning and coordination of academic work and maintaining academic standards, and they feed directly into the board of governors. So I have some experience doing that, and that's chaired by the principal and working with senior management. So I've got experience of kind of speaking up and representing students in these kind of environments.
Fantastic. So thank you very much. That was Ross, your undergraduate governor candidate. So I'd like everyone to stay on the line. Ross, you have mentioned the question that I'm going to be asking already, in that you may have noticed from emails that it's a big time for RGU. There's been a new chair of the board appointed and there's been a new principal appointed. So my question, and you will all have 1 minute each to answer this, is what key priorities do you think the Board of Governors should be working on over the next year? So with the new chair, with the new principal, is almost like a blank slate to start with something. So what do you think the top priority for the student experience should be for the board over the next year? So I'm going to go to Rachel first, and you will have 1 minute to explain what your views are.
Yeah, so I think they should place priorities on student placement to ensure that student gets the right placement and even get what they want or the kind of placement they want. Another thing I would also suggest that the focus on is the grading system. There have been a lot of issues as regards, the number of A's you need to have to finish with a particular grade and all of that. And there have been students who have actually been finished with very good grades, and at the end of the day, they're not, finishing with what they should. So I think they should place priority on coming up with a better grading system that really rewards students, for their efforts, and also, ensure that the other point I made, so I think those are the things they should begin to work on.
Excellent, thank you very much. Next person to explain, so with all the changes on the board, what's the #1 priority they should be working on is Raheem. Raheem, you have 1 minute.
Yes, generally, I think what the board should be working on in the future is for the welfare of the students, because when students have a good experience in RGU, they will definitely refer their friends and family to study at RGU. But when students are unhappy with their studies at RGU, then definitely there will be concerns and they might not want to refer other students. So generally, I think the RGU as a whole and the board should create a feedback session for all students who are graduating and presently studying to request for what kind of changes they would actually need, because these changes should actually come from the ideas of the students. So when they get this feedback from them, they can be able to implement and create better future ideas that will benefit students and staff generally. But I think precisely these changes of the future should be acted on the students precisely, so they can get better ideas on how to provide better services for the students if they get their feedback. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you very much. That was Raheem's answer there. The next person is Chante, sorry. You have 1 minute. What is the #1 priority the board should be working on this year?
overall, I'm quite happy with how the board is taking the students' concerns, welfare, all of that into consideration. I know that is a top priority for them. So what I would want to do is for them to keep on focusing on that, to maintain and even update and make it better, that students have a good student experience. Overall, I know that there's certain things that can be changed, like the Gray School of Art. That was a hot topic on the board, and they've made many decisions on that. Also, I know that the new principal and the vice chair are well updated and want to make sure that the student experience is one of the top things that RGU keeps on their list, because that's something that we are doing quite well in contrast to other universities. So I want to keep supporting the board in doing that, keep bringing forward ideas on how we can do that, and also to let them know that the students are happy or unhappy with the decision that they're making, to make sure that they take those into consideration, and furthermore make sure that the board knows what they're doing and that the students know what the board is doing for them.
Thank you very much. So that was Chante, and then the next person is Stanley. Stanley, you have 1 minute. What number one priority should the board be working on?
One priority the board should be working on is communication. I keep on saying communication is the key. If you really know what someone needs, you will know how to tackle it. Problem known is problem solved. Because in this situation, despite the fact that yes, the institution is wrong, but we need more sightseeing. More sightseeing would actually help you, because practice makes perfect. More if you're in the field, try really what is really happening in the field, you really be perfect in your studies. So if inside working, and then get the experiences and placements, and also one-on-one communications with the students will really go a very long way. Getting all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's Stanley. And the last person for a different position, which is undergraduate governor, Ross Levin. What number one priority do you think the RGU board should be working on this year?
So I think, if you'll allow me, maybe answer this in two parts. So the first of all is the student-facing side of it. So the main priority has to be the student experience and the student-facing services. So whether that be we've chatted before about the counselling service, the students' union, all of the kind of support services that are available, ensuring that they've got enough funding. And as we go forward, when in these kind of times where students' mental health might be impacted and that kind of thing, we need to make sure that we've got that funding in place for them there. And then, if you'll allow me to look at the other side as well, from the university's kind of a business point of view, we're going to be struggling after Brexit and the kind of coronavirus situation. The amount of students that are going to be wanting to come in are going to be a lot less from international. And we've seen this year that maybe the hires aren't going to go ahead in Scotland, and the A levels down south. So it's about ensuring that we can work through it and make sure that we have the students coming in and the funding coming in going forward, so that all of these services that impact students' day-to-day kind of experience have the funding that they need, and the university can support that.
Thank you, Ross. Fantastic. There are your candidates for your postgraduate governor and undergraduate governor, and you can go online to the union website and get their full manifestos, and these are university positions as opposed to union positions. So we are almost there. That is the end of all the candidate speeches so far for this election, but we do have an opportunity for the candidates to ask a question to each other, and there'll be one other. So have a think if you want to ask a question, but first I want to ask one more thing that's come in through social media, and it's an open question for anyone to answer. So I'll ask the same again, that if you are interested in answering this question, please unmute your microphone. If you don't want to answer this question, make sure you mute your microphone. And the question is, how will you improve communication between the executive group of presidents and vice presidents and student media groups? How will you improve communication between the executive team and student media groups? So if you want to answer this question, please unmute your microphone. Okay, so I have Ross first there, and then Lauren. So we'll go to Ross. You have 1 minute to answer that question.
Thank you. So I think the first key thing we need to do is kind of set up briefings with the student media groups. It's all good kind of as we've all got our own kind of work social media accounts, whether that be Twitter, Instagram or Facebook. But the student media groups are a great way to kind of tell the wider story rather than just the 280 characters that we've got. So I think by setting up meetings with them and kind of looking at what their agenda is for the year, so what kind of editorial things will they be looking to cover? What kind of events will they be at? What kind of things will they be doing? And see if we can even feed into that and bring them along to union events, let them come into the office and just maybe is it shadowing for a day to see like what is a day like for a president, and just kind of getting them more involved day to day. At the moment this year it's not been as much, so we've got some interviews coming up with the media groups to see what we've done as the exec, but it's really something that we can get more involved in. And even if it's like a radio show or a podcast or looking at the written ones as well, as kind of getting them involved in everything that we're doing at the union.
Thank you very much. Now we're going to move to Lauren Taylor. You have 1 minute.
Okay, so I think that setting up regular meetings would be a really good start. So far, like I said before, we've had no contact with presidents, so we don't know what's going on with the union unless we ask, and they don't know what's going on with us. I think that by setting up these regular meetings and by creating kind of like a platform, so merging the media groups together so that it's one big unit would be a really good thing to do. And therefore, like, you know, we could just share information freely between both. They're a good platform that's really been underused.
Lovely, thank you very much. We're going to move to Raheem and then Stanley. So Raheem, you're next and you have 1 minute.
Yeah, I think the best way to bridge the communication guide between student and the president is for me to, if I'm elected, to set up a mailbox where people who have confidence and who are shy can drop in whatever concerns they have in the mailbox, and me being the president, if I'm elected, to be able to address whatever notes that have been written in their letters. So precisely what I would like to do is to address messages that are sent to the union website, or set up a mailbox that students can drop in their queries and questions and concerns, and as the president to attend to these queries through a video call or through a video recording, and attend to each and everyone's query that have been dropped in the mailbox. That's how I feel I'll be able to I'll be able to bridge the divide between the communication divide. So I just believe in mailbox and addressing whatever concerns that letters that have been dropped in the mailbox. That's best to address the communication problem.
Thank you very much, Raheem. So the last person to speak in this question is going to be Stanley. You have 1 minute.
Thank you very much. I am talking about communication in my manifestos. And that's the key point to communicate and to reach out to the students. I believe very much that is regular meetings with the leaders, with the governors, the presidents, the vice president would really go a very long way with a key strategic point that would actually be discussed in every meeting. That will bring out the view for people, because I believe in an objective team. If you different views, you can put them together, make a very perfect move to make it work. Because I believe when that comes on board, it will go. And also creating this one-on-one discussion with the students, this committee to have one-on-one discussions with the students, because some wouldn't want to have that conversation online and post. Some of them wouldn't really be chanced enough to go and sign and put on next. Then you have this one-on-one discussion with them. You extract the information from them, and also you can also from there to put in their own idea and views, and you can also extract it and use it. I believe in teamwork and collaboration with the team. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Stanley. Okay, so that I think was all the candidates for President of Communication Democracy, actually, who were the ones who answered that question. I don't think I see anyone else who wants to answer that one. So we're going to move on. Very last thing is thank you to the candidates. But does any of the candidates want to ask a question to another candidate who is not running for the same role as them? If you do, please unmute your unmute your microphone so I can tell. Okay, I have one from Jade. Jade, what is your question and what role is it for? Or which person is it for?
So this was towards Raheem for the comms and democracy role. So you mentioned, like, I completely agree that people do need to be more involved with societies, but you mentioned making them all free to everybody. And from the position of being on a committee, you know, I know how substantial membership income can be for the committee. So how do you propose to sort of compensate for that?
Okay, we'll
Yes,
move
thank
to
you very
you have
much.
1 minute.
Yes, thank you very much for this question. Like I said, most students are actually interested in joining different societies, but I'm sure the compulsory fee to join these societies will be discouraging to them. And by discouraging them to join, the societies itself will be affected because they will have less participants in their societies. So like I also said, there can be or there should be voluntary donations when students now join these societies freely. After they are able to join freely, the society will gain participants. Then they can now request for voluntary donations from these participants. But with the fee, most people will be discouraged. And the society too would also suffer because they'll have less participants, and less participants means the societies may also close down. But when it's free for students, many people will join. Then you can now request for voluntary donations. That is how you get your revenue or whatever you need money for. Because when your participants are happy with the society activities, they'll be willing to give money. But what they've not tasted, they don't know about, they might feel reluctant to pay for it. And the societies too will suffer from less participants. That's why I'm thinking of bringing a way that can make the society free for all. Then when they now join, you can now request for your donations. Both parties enjoy from this free entry into the societies. Society gain participants,
Raheem.
and participants are happy to join.
Okay. Sorry, Raheem, I'm going to have to cut you off there and be rude. Just because we are.
I'm done. I'm done.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Very last call. This is the last chance because we've already been on here for ages and we need a biscuit. Does anyone else want to ask a question to another candidate? Unmute your microphone. I'm going to do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There are no more questions. Ding, 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 ding. Thank you so much. That is us at the end of this RGU Union election question time. Before we finish up for the day, I've been Edward, your host today, and I want to thank all of the candidates for your time. This was a mammoth question time, so well done for responding in such difficult circumstances. We have not done an online version of this before, so I want to thank you for your time for that. Voting is now open, so candidates, those who are watching, can go to rguunion.co.uk and click the Vote Now button. It's a preferential voting system, so you get to choose your first choice, second choice, third choice, etc. And you also have reopen nominations. So you get to rank the candidates in order, and then what happens is the votes are then counted, and it's done in a round-by-round basis. So the person in the first round who gets the least amount of votes is eliminated, and then the second votes are counted, etc., etc. So there's an explanation on the Union This is the 27th to cast your votes in this election for your next full-time presidents and vice presidents. So make sure you read the manifestos, watch whatever videos are up there, and get involved. I'd also like to very much say a thank you on behalf of the candidates and myself to the union staff, because this election is very exceptional. We have never done this online. The union staff are under a lot of pressure to be able to continue to support students while being working from home, doing this digitally, and it's taken a lot of work to make this happen. So I want to thank all of the team at the union, and for this call in particular, Greg Mailer, for being our Deputy Returning Officer and making this election happen in challenging times. We know all the students out there have a lot to worry about and think about, but hopefully this election gives you a chance to vote for who you want to be involved, because one for taking part. Make sure you vote, tag your friends, get on social media, and get involved. Good luck to all the candidates, and we will see you on Friday, I believe, for the announcement of the election results. But please pay attention to the union Facebook pages for updates. Thank you very much. Enjoy your evening.